Welcome. My name is Karen Wilketts with the North Tahoe-Truckee Leadership Program, and we are so proud of our alumni because several of them are running for local offices this year in 2020. Because of COVID-19, there were not a lot of opportunities for them to reach out to the local population. And so what we've done is invited our alumni to come talk to us about the organizations that they're running for and why they're running and what qualifications they have. So tonight, I'm very excited to welcome Sarah Coolidge. Sarah and I happen to be friends, and I usually get to see her quite a bit in the summer, and I haven't been able to, so it's very nice to have Sarah with us. So welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, Karen. It's really great to be here. You know, the leadership program is an amazing program. And I am embarrassed to say I don't know how many years it's been around and how many millions of years ago I actually attended. But I've always been really proud to be an alumni. And I love the way that you promote the alumni. And when we are together at meetings, how you always stand up and say something about the leadership program and say, how many people in this room are alumni? And then we get to raise our hands and all those other ones get to suffer from the fear of missing out. And then they beat a path to your door to sign up and take that program.
It works really well.
Yeah, yeah. And I will also tell you that when I took it a gazillion years ago, we toured the special district offices, which I think you still do. We didn't tour all of them. And I was quite bewildered by what are special districts and what do they do? And I don't understand as much as I probably should. And so it's a big transformation to go from that to where I am now.
Yes. So why don't you tell us, you're running for re-election for the North Tahoe Public Utility District. So can you tell us a little bit about the Public Utility District?
Sure. The North Tahoe Public Utility District started in 1948, and what we did then was just sewer processing. The district runs from over there, where I am, the state line, Crystal Bay, all the way up to the sort of top of Dollar Hill. It doesn't include all of Dollar Hill, and the rest then would slide into the Tahoe City Public Utility District. So we're a long, skinny district. As I said, we started in 1948 to do sewage processing for the people in this region. And later, checking my notes, 67, we started doing water. In 1968, we started doing recreation. And that's what we've been doing ever since. It's a local special district, and for those of us included who don't know all that much about special districts, I know more now, there's a ton of them in California. There's a lot of small districts that do things like manage schools and hospitals and fire service and water and sewer and recreation, which is what we do. And as such, we are kind of the local government for North Tahoe because we are the only elected officials that actually live and work here. We don't do everything, and you still need to vote for us in order for us to run the water, sewage, and recreation.
So tell us about some of the major issues or major opportunities that the North Tahoe PUD has coming up and has just recently tackled.
Well, you know, the number one issue that we're all tackling right now is COVID, and this is not something that we have direct responsibility over, but of course, the North Tahoe PUD, we've got to make sure that we still operate. So definitely an essential service, water and sewage, you would all miss it if you didn't have it, and we certainly don't want anybody to have problems, especially in getting drinking water. It's obviously number one most important thing that people need to live, and a lot of people don't really think so much about, well, where does that come from and how do people make sure I have it and that it's safe to drink and all of those other things. So we are doing our part to make sure, obviously, that those services are still happening. And related to COVID-19, you know, we've had to make some changes in our park in terms of what people can do there. For a while, it was closed completely. Now it's open, but you can't do things like use some of the adult exercise equipment, things that you would have to touch and people would have to get close to each other, basically. And our event center is closed right now, which is quite unfortunate since we've just spent a lot of energy and time over the last 4 years really working on getting a good plan for that building, hiring someone to run it, putting together a marketing plan. It's completely refurbished inside, brand new carpeting that no one in this town has seen yet. It's all been painted and ready to rock and roll. We had tons of weddings booked for this summer. That was really going to turn the corner for us when it comes to that building, because that has been something for a long time. We have not really, you know, we're a water, sewer, recreation district, so how do you manage an event center? And yet it's a public building, and we offer and want to continue to offer plenty of community events and services there, the tree lighting ceremony, community Thanksgiving, plus recreation exercise classes and things like that. And yet we also want to have it be something that makes money and at least pays for itself, if not perhaps contributes to the bottom line for the entire recreation department. That department is the hardest one to make money in, and most recreation departments don't make much money, which means that they have to be subsidized by the people that use the parks, which are the voters, and they do that in our district, and it's just not quite enough money. So we really were excited about where we were getting, and now of course it's all on hold, but there's a lot of things that are on hold, and we're doing fine waiting for it to be able to be open again. And we did use it for a while for free COVID testing, so it was nice to be able to use it in some way to serve the community. And it is an emergency shelter. If that need arises, we'll be able to use it for that as well. A lot of changes in the last 4 years. I mean, I've been on the board for 4 years now, and I have seen a lot change since 6 years ago when I first ran, and the time that I was sitting out in the audience watching versus what we're doing now. And I'm very proud of it. We have turned from an organization that didn't participate really in any way to support our housing needs, and now we're a full participant in the Mountain Housing Council, and not just sitting there at meetings, but actually contributing financially to it, which is a big change. We are partnering with North Tahoe Fire to do a lot of cleanup on the property that we own to you know, get rid of that stuff that could burn up, which now we're all really worried about, but cleaning it up and making it safer for anyone in our region, because every acre that is clean is better for all of us. I've already mentioned the event center and all of the things that we've done there. We've worked really hard to do a full assessment of all of our water and sewer to make sure we really know, because we have pipes that have been in the ground for 50 or 60 years. And when you put a pipe in the ground and it says, you know, the shelf life is 50 years, well, that doesn't mean that nothing's going to go on for 50 years and all of a sudden, boom, you're going to need to replace them all. There's all sorts of things that can impact them, you know, road construction over the years, digging things up and putting them back together over and over again, or tree roots are a big problem for us. So there's a complete assessment that we've done. We've put together a 20-year capital plan and a really detailed 5-year capital plan. We did a 2-year rate study, which really dissected all of our departments. Hello, someone's coming. Hi, Janet. Not sure what happened there, but I'll keep going. We put together and went through a complete rate study looking at all our different enterprise zones to really be sure that people that, you know, are buying water from us are paying what they should be paying. And this is in alignment with California's Prop 218 that, you know, we can't charge if it's not reasonable, that this is what it actually costs us to get the water to you. So we can't charge more or less than that, and we have to be able to justify it. And some of the fees and structures that we had set up were quite old. And so we really looked at all of them and put together new rates that just went into effect shortly before COVID. So we are in good financial shape to deal with that 20-year capital plan, which is great. And we're in a little bit of a holding pattern now, though we are doing a lot of capital work this summer because, as many of us, because of COVID. And I know that we would like to make sure the video is working the way you would like, and then we have Janet here too. Hi, Janet, it's nice to see you. If you want to do some adjustments, Karen, I'm happy to try to help you. I don't know, I'm seeing you as gigantic now. Is that what you're seeing?
I think we're doing fine.
Okay, just wanted to
give
you a chance if there's a button we need to click. So
I think the recording is going to go back and forth, but that's okay. We're going to continue on with our with our discussion. This is not CNN. So,
Yes, thank goodness.
so I love the way that NTPUD posts on Facebook. You know, the flushable wipes aren't really flushable, and drink Tahoe tap, which is one of my favorites. Plastic bottles are not good for anybody. So I appreciate the NTPUD providing such good water to us. And then the forest, we have a lot of trees around here, so I know that that's a major issue too. So
Yeah. Well, and to be able to help clear some of that out, as well as really look at the water, throughout our district. There are people that don't know that, inside the North Tahoe Public Utility Districts are two smaller districts, private districts that are still independent and private. So basically what that means is we're kind of a patchwork from Crystal Bay to Dollar Hill. There's a little patchwork, and we can't pump water all the way across because of those two smaller districts. And there are people, therefore, that don't have fire hydrants near their homes, things like that. And these are all issues that we're really concerned about and doing everything we can to get upgraded. It's not our responsibility to pay for those smaller districts to upgrade, but we certainly want to see it happen. And how it can happen is going to probably require a lot of collaboration with a lot of people, including legislation. And down there in Sacramento might not be at the top of their list, but for us up here, all of us, fire is a huge concern now more than ever, perhaps, but it has been for everyone I know for years.
Yes, and I know that that the board works with a lot of different entities. Can you describe the makeup of the board a little bit? So you're running for re-election for a 4-year term. Can you tell us how many people are on the board and how the seats run?
So right now there's 3 seats that are open, and there's 4 of us running. And so the other 2 seats will turn, become available or whatever in 2 years. So every 2 years, there's a chance for someone to either run or work to get reelected. And about, I would say probably 5 years ago now, maybe 6, in part due to a lot of advocating from many people in our community, the North Tahoe Public Utility District changed its election policy. I'm not going to call it that. It's not an official policy written or called that as far as I know, but prior to then, you had to pick who you were going to run against. So if Sarah's seat was up and so was the other 2, you could say, well, I'm going to run against Sarah, or I'm going to run against so-and-so or so-and-so. And those were the only people that had to campaign. So if you picked me, it would just be you and me campaigning, and the other 2, if no one decided, then they would just sit there and watch and not have to talk to the public about who they are, what they value, and why you ought to give them another 4 years. And I think it's really important that we have these open elections, which now we have. And of course, it's, means that we all have to campaign, and there is only 4 people running for 3 seats. So most of us, maybe me, hopefully, will be on those seats, and only one person won't get in. But we all have to tell you who we are and what we're doing, and convince you. And I think that's really important. That's what democracy is all about. You shouldn't just get to sit on something for 10, 15, 20 years just because no one else is I would say they might be afraid to run against somebody that's been there for so long. If it's just a one-on-one thing, and we're a small community, and it might be your neighbor, somebody your kids went to school together or whatever. Now it's just much more relaxed, and I like it better. I don't know if I answered your whole question. What else about the makeup of the board?
So there's a total of 5 seats?
5 seats.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So I want to invite the audience, if you have any questions, then go ahead and use the chat function. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and keep asking Sarah some more questions. You talked about the importance of open election. We'd like to hear more about yourself, a little bit about your background, and you've been in this position for 4 years, but I want to hear more about yourself, and I'm going to stop talking.
So I was born in 1958. San Francisco. And my history with Tahoe began probably before I was born. I'm the youngest in my family, and my father and 9 of his friends got together. They loved skiing, and they opened Alpine Meadows. So I was coming up here in utero, and I was coming up here as a baby. And first time I ever skied, I was 4 years old, which was pretty young in those days. It's not a big deal anymore, but it was then. And so I have a long history with our region. And I come from a family where politics, I mean, I'm the first politician, which I still kind of don't see myself that way, but I guess I might be the only one who doesn't. But my mom was active and you know, campaigns of various kinds, supporting the people that she believed in, and we talked about it a lot at home. But I always thought it was something for other people. I certainly grew up in a family that voted. I always voted. There were times that I really cared about what was happening. There were other times where I felt sort of hopeless, the way sometimes we do. But I never thought that I might run for office. And my career, the work that I've done has all been focused on teaching and training. I've done adult education for training and development throughout my whole life in various ways. And ranging from teaching English to Spanish speakers to teaching people about investments in their 401k as a part of a human resources, to teaching all sorts of nutrition education programs when I was running WIC, to working at the Family Resource Center and all the teaching we did. So a lot of teaching, a lot of support, a lot of community development. And when I retired from the WIC program, which is a program I ran for Placer County, basically at exactly the same time, I was looking for something new to do. I wanted to stay in service, but I didn't know quite what. I was asked, would you do this? And I thought, really, that? I don't know anything about it, right? You know, I had been through the leadership program by then, but I still didn't know much about what does the PUD even do. You know, I pay my bill every month, but I don't know what they do. And I began to get involved. And over time, I decided, yeah, okay, I'll do this. I think I could do this. It fits a lot of the same sorts of needs and desires I have when it comes to serving and contributing. It's very different from anything I'd ever done before. So I ran for office. First time around, nobody knew who I was. Lots of Spanish speakers knew who I was. Lots of people in Reno knew who I was because I did a lot of work over there, but no one here did really, and that's fine. The first campaign button said, who is Sarah Coolidge? That's what we did the first year. We worked really hard and I lost by 25 votes. So it was pretty clear that it is possible for someone to campaign unknown, work hard, and almost get elected. And another week or two, we might have. And so 2 years later, ran again and did win, and used a lot of the same connections and techniques and marketing skills that I knew of to do it. And a lot of knocking on doors and talking to people about, what do you know about the PUD? What do you want to know? And of course, we can't do that this time, which is, I think all of us, everyone campaigning, probably all the way throughout, you know, all the way up state, federal level, are sort of like, well, what do we do? Because we can't do any of the regular stuff. And I certainly know that that's how I feel this time. So I won 4 years ago. I feel like, you know, since then there was a big learning curve, especially the first year, but our board is fabulous. I think we really have a lot of respect for one another. We all contribute different skill sets, and the one that I am, the way I see myself as, actually I had someone early on say, Sarah, I'm sorry I couldn't vote for your thing. And I said, you know, I didn't really expect you to, and it's okay, because I know I'm seeing way far ahead. I'm kind of a visionary, pushing us to do more, and you wouldn't want 5 people like me on your board. You know, one is good, couple maybe, but you need the other mindsets as well. And so I'm the one that asks those questions. I'm the one, I believe, who says a lot of the time, well, what's this going to look like in 100 years? How does this impact our community? You know, especially the idea of how can we contribute anything possible to make it a sustainable community that people can afford to live in. And we don't have a lot of direct control over that, but I do believe that we have influence over that. And especially, I think we have influence if we act like leaders and reach out and collaborate and connect and not be isolated. So even if we are only in charge of water and sewer and recreation, we are leaders. We were elected. People voted for us. And so children, young ones, see these things, and so do others. And we can instill some of that in our community, because it takes leadership to keep a community like this alive and to fight for the kinds of things we all need to fight for so that people can keep living here. We don't want this, I don't want this to be a place that my children have absolutely no chance of being able to afford to live here. I mean, I don't think any of us want that. And so those are the kinds of, that's the angle I have in my mind a lot of the time, advocating for that, advocating for entrepreneurialism and businesses, and how can we make sure that people stay employed here, don't have to drive back and forth, housing, all of those things. And I don't think this is really what you asked me, but I think that that's my value over and over again. That to me has been confirmed. That's what I bring, and it makes a difference.
I love that you are the person that asks why and how and what is that going to do for the community. I think that that's very powerful, and I commend you and encourage you to keep doing that. I think, you know, somebody needs to ask those difficult questions, and you know, and make sure that it's not a board where everybody just always votes yes. You know, you do have to ask the tough questions, and I commend you for doing that. So now here's the opportunity to give your campaign pitch for votes for you. So what would you like us to know that will convince us that we need to get out there and vote for you?
Thank you. First, I want to offer Janet, in case she doesn't know how to use chat, because I've sure seen that a lot. And I saw her lean forward when you said something about chat. And if you would like assistance and you don't quite know how to do it, we can certainly talk you through it if you have a question, Janet. And I'm happy to do that. And I know that Karen can do it as well. So the question, why should you vote for me, is that I didn't already answer it. You know, what I really want to talk about is why should you vote? And I just think it's so important that I hope someday our country will consider being like Australia and saying that if you don't vote, you get fined. That all of us should vote, no matter what. And so I'm going to tell you first, if you're not registered to vote, get registered, and it's not too late to do that. And in fact, in California, you can register on voting day. You can show up at the event center if you're right here in Kings Beach, North Tahoe, and vote and register and vote on that day. But I would not recommend that you wait till then. Who knows what will be happening? Who knows? Who knows? So you can register now online. It's really easy. If you are registered, but you haven't checked your registration lately, I encourage you to check it, because things can happen and you might find out that you're not for some reason, or they've got the wrong address for you, or whatever. And in California this year, it will all be vote by mail. And the ballots should be going out sometime around October 5th, which basically means for us politicians, we know the election's kind of over by like October 10th. Normally, the vote by mail people usually vote quickly and mail it fast. And so it can be a done deal, but we still have to campaign till November 3rd, just in case, who knows? And so we will be doing that. And I will advocate to you that you get your vote done quickly and early, and if you can, drop it off. There'll be some drop-off stations throughout Placer County. Several have been mentioned that I don't know the exact hours of, and I wouldn't tell you those hours now anyway, because I think it's all subject to change and upheaval, the way life has been. But you can certainly go to the Placer County website the day you're ready to drop it off and take a look. I know Kings Beach Library has been on that list. Placer County, or excuse me, our event center, the North Tahoe Event Center, will be open on election day, as far as I know, and maybe a drop-off center at other times. There'll be one in Squaw Valley. There'll be a few around. And I encourage you to drop your ballot off in person, because the Postal Service is having some challenges, and you do not want your vote to get lost. So I encourage that. And then why vote for me? Everything that I've said about the vision I'm it. A lot of the time, I won't say that I'm the only one that thinks about the future, or that would not be true. However, I do think that my voice is highly valued at that table, and I think that there's plenty of more work to do. We have done all that I talked about, the assessment of our district, the new rate study. We know we have tons of work to do, millions of dollars worth of work that needs to be done, and we're just getting started on implementing that new plan. The first few years of it, I think it really is important that people that have been there and understand what it took to get there are still there to help really get that implementation going, which means I'm saying vote for someone with some experience, and I have some. That to me is going to be really important because there's a lot of money at stake. And I also believe that during this time of upheaval with COVID, we need to really care for each other. And I'm not trying to say that I'm the only person who cares on that board, but I do think that that value of community and reaching out and collaborating is something that I brought when I first was elected. And we have grown our collaboration and connection greatly over the last 4 years. And I think we're really going to depend on it and need it. And it's a real strength that we have now that we didn't have before. And we're going to want to build on that. And so again, it's sort of stick with what you've got here, because I think it's pretty good. And I will certainly continue to be committed to things like housing as much as possible. What can we do to contribute to workforce housing? What can we do to make sure that we are safe from fire? What can we do to make sure that our rates stay reasonable and understandable for our customers, clients, ratepayers, whatever you want to call them? What can we do to support them to be able to stay in this community? And when it comes to recreation, which is of course a big part of what we do, how can we continue to stabilize our recreation department? It was really losing money and doing poorly a few years ago. And we've restructured how we manage the tax money that we get. And we've also done a lot to turn our recreation into something that generates revenue for us. But Tahoe and the mountains here, I mean, this is all about recreation. So we could still do a lot more to have a really strong, productive recreation department that's really good for our local community as well as serving our tourists, but doing it in a way that does not have a huge environmental impact on this lake. And I think that, you know, a couple hundred years from now, I sure want Lake Tahoe to be looking as good as it does today, if not better. And we're all gonna have to work hard to make that happen. So yeah, vote for me, vote for innovation and commitment. Ooh, look at that, I like it. Thank you, Janet. And if you want to, is this the time I can show this or not yet? I have these. This is actually a collector's item at this point, because it used to say the 4th and then it said the 8th and now it says the 3rd. And I've gotten really skilled at doing this. So a new talent I've learned. Crossed off the old FPPC, put a new one. All about saving our donors money and, you know, saving the environment. We don't need to make some new ones. So we have signs that you can have, and I'm happy to bring them to you. You can reach out to me in a million different ways. Shall I tell them?
Yes, please.
So my website is sarahcoolidge.com. You can also reach me through Facebook. You can send me an email, sarah@sarahcoolidge.com. I'm happy to, you know, get a private message on Facebook or answer an email. And, you know, I'll bring you a sign. We'll take it away. You never have to get anywhere near us. And I'm happy also, of course, to have support. If anyone has a few dollars to donate, that would be great. We are going to have a couple weekends where we're going to be walking. We won't be knocking on doors and asking people to interact, because we know that that's probably too much for a lot of people. But we will have door hangers, and we will need some volunteers to walk with us to do that. And so if you're interested in that, it would be great. And my little signs, which are also being recycled, so we had to cut off the 8. These look really good on bear boxes. So if you would like one of those, I'll get it to you.
Sarah, I love the way you post on Facebook on your Sarah Coolidge politician page, when to vote, how to vote, you know, the process is going to happen. So you put a lot of information that's very helpful to the community on that, on your page there, and I appreciate that, because it you know, people need to hear a couple of times, you know, how to vote, when to vote, because things are changing so quickly. So appreciate.
Well, to be encouraged to vote, please
Yes.
vote. If you've never registered, get registered. If you've never voted, vote. Pick one thing that you care about and just go vote. If you're the first person in your family to ever vote, that's really cool. So go do it. I had somebody the first time around, oh my God, it was 5 of 8, 5 minutes to 8, and the polls close at 8. Who called me and said, I haven't been able to vote yet, Sarah, what do I do? And I drove her to the poll. I mean, it was so great because it was her first time ever voting, and she did it because she knew me, and that was enough of a reason. And I like to think she's still voting for other things besides this election, and that maybe her children are too. And this is magic and powerful, and it really, really depends on each one of us, not thinking that it's someone else's job. Just like what I'm doing. Anybody could do this. You could run for office. I mean, you could. You don't have to be like some other thing. It depends on regular people. So now I'm passionate. Yeah, get out there and vote. Just do it, and tell all your friends to do it too. And don't let anybody say my vote doesn't matter, because they're wrong.
Well, especially, you know, you realize that after your first campaign, when it was only 25 votes between winning and losing. So I'm so proud of you, and so happy that you continued on, and 2 years later decided to run again. And I think that the North Tahoe PUD is lucky to have you. So sarahcoolidge.com, and Sarah Coolidge Politician on Facebook. And we have recorded this, so I'm going to give the recording to Sarah so you can pass it out to all of your fans. And but before we go, I just want to thank you so much for participating in this. The North Lake Tahoe-Truckee Leadership Program really appreciates your continued support for the program, but also appreciates that you have gone out into the community and made a difference, and made a big difference. I'm a huge fan of yours, so I could keep going on and on. So Sarah Coolidge, thank you so much for joining us. And I hope to see you in person soon.